and welcome to my kitchen and a new episode of, I'm going to call this Prepper's Pantry, because this all comes from your pantry. All of these items come from your pantry, and some of them can be in your pantry, but we are going to use buttermilk. It's Sunday morning, coffee's on, sun's coming up. We're early risers. I don't know why. I have not been able to sleep in since I was in high school. And I'm going to make, the other day, well, I'll preface this with a little story. The other day, my friend Cat's Cradle emailed me and said, I'm here doing this, and I just happened to check. We read this blog called Chickens in the Road. And it's a fabulous blog. If you haven't had the opportunity to read that, I'll put the link to her blog below. She's amazing. Her story is incredible. And she's just this woman who's living on this little small rural farm. And she kind of just dropped out of life as she knew it and changed her path. And she posted this video not a video, she posted a recipe with these amazing pictures of some Raisin Biscuits that she made. Well, I was looking at those and thought, those look really amazing. And I thought, I have a really great biscuit recipe. And what can I do to change my recipe to kind of, create something like this? So this is what I came up with. I'm sitting at the computer this morning and I'm jotting down my recipe, and I think this is going to work. So let's see how I'm going to do this. I have 4 cups of all-purpose flour. 4 cups of all-purpose flour. And to that, I'm going to add this, and this is pretty much the same as my basic buttermilk biscuit recipe that some of you have seen. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of baking powder. And this one is almost empty. There. In fact, we're going to call that empty. And for those of you, this is the only kind of baking powder I use. Rumford. It has no aluminum in it. There are a couple other really good. I think Bob's Red Mill makes a baking powder you can get that doesn't have aluminum in it. I know that they make a baking soda that has no aluminum in it. But FYI, you can make your own baking powder. Baking powder is nothing more than baking soda and cream of tartar mixed together. So you can take your aluminum-free baking soda, and then I'll have to get the ratios for you. I think it's for every cup of baking soda, you use a teaspoon of cream of tartar, and you blend it up together well. I'll have to get the ratios for you, and I'll put that information in the underbar. Or maybe I'll just do another video. So now this is baking soda, and we're going to use 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So that's 2 tablespoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt. If you don't do salt, leave the salt out. No biggie. If you use salted butter, you're going to get enough salt in your butter too. So the only other thing that we're going to add different here is where it goes different, is I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar to this dough. I'm going to give it a little...
How long have we had that container now?
This container,
back when Molly did
5 years.
Her project.
In the 3rd grade. Yes, 5 years.
We just keep refilling it.
We just keep refilling it. It is very convenient to keep, this keeps it, 3 pounds of sugar on your kitchen shelf close to where the action is, so to speak. All right. Now, I'm also going to add a tablespoon of cinnamon. I'm going to right into the flour mixture here.
I hear Jenny. I hear Jenny.
You hear Jenny?
Jenny Mose.
Oh. On the news. Yeah, I hear her too. The TV's on in the living room. The news is on. Okay. Now, 12 tablespoons of cold butter. I just took these out of the fridge. And we're going to cut these up into cubes. And then we're going to take our pastry blender. Let's do the small one first. I like to cut it this way. And then I like to cut it this way. So that when I slice it, you get these little squares of butter. And this is just me. You don't have to be as...
Anal.
Well, I wasn't going to say anal, but since you said it, you know. Precise. Particular. There's so many better words to use than anal, you know. But I am. It's true. On some level. That's all right. It is what it is. You knew what you were getting when you married me. That's all I have to say.
Pretty much.
And I knew what I was getting as well.
Lucky you.
And I am so very lucky.
I'm not lucky.
There are men who would kill to have me for their wife. Are you kidding me?
I know. I know.
I'm not being full of myself at all, am I? I'm sure somebody's waiting for me to turn my back so Rick can steal something, but, you know.
Nothing I want.
You don't like raisins that much, do you?
No.
And I'm making raisin biscuits for breakfast. But once these get all baked up and then slathered in a lovely vanilla glaze, he's going to eat them.
Got a plate of bacon out here.
We might be able to make that happen.
Yeah. Come here, nice. A little smokies.
Yeah, I don't have any of those in the fridge. That's one of those things the weather's cooling off. I need to make sure I have some little smokies in the fridge. Sometimes we like to just... Okay.
Oh. Adds a little protein to your biscuits.
It does. When you have it, you know, next to those, sometimes it rounds out your breakfast. Because, you know, sometimes you just don't feel like cooking the whole biscuits and gravy or eggs and bacon or whatever it is that you're going to make. Sometimes you just don't want to do that. All right, then comes the weapon of mass destruction, the pastry blender. And we are just going to hack away at this until it resembles fine meal. And we'll show you what that looks like. It's not going to take very long. But you don't want this. You want to incorporate the butter where you're breaking it up in here and it's getting coated in those flour granules. So that when you mix up your dough, there are actually little chunks, not giant chunks, little chunks of butter that are coated in flour. And that way when you mix up your biscuit dough with the buttermilk and you put it in the oven, when this starts to get hot, all that butter is going to start to melt, and that's where you get a flaky biscuit. Not a dense hockey puck of a biscuit. We're almost there. It doesn't take long. When you cut your butter up in little cubes like that, it really does make it go quicker. And do you see how I'm going down and then I'm twisting? So it's all in the wrist action.
Oh, can't stop yawning.
Did I get you up too early this morning, babe?
No, wouldn't you? Freaking cats.
Oh, 2 cups of buttermilk go into the mix. And because I'm a little particular about this too, I like to get a big fork and just stir. Okay, this is where it gets messy. Now, I'm going to grab my bag of flour, which is here behind Rick. I know that looks like a lot. I'm going to put some over her. The trick to biscuits is not to overmix them. Oh, it's wet. It's bugging you? Now who's anal?
I don't know what it is. I don't want it.
Oh, it's just some flour and butter that came out of the bowl. Alright, so just kind of press your dough together and then start to fold it into itself. I promise it's going to come together. This is also how you're going to form flaky layers. When the French make pastry, like puff pastry, for croissants or Napoleon or whatever, they will take several hours to make this dough. Well, not this dough, this is buttermilk biscuits. This isn't French, puff pastry. But they will fold it onto itself. And then they will turn it like this. And they'll mark it and they'll let it rest for however long, maybe an hour, let's say. Then they'll come along again and they'll fold it. Oops.
Sorry.
That's okay. Letting the cat out. And they'll mark it and they'll let it rest again until they have turned it and folded it into itself.
Can I mark it with a B?
Can
I mark it with a B?
Then, yeah, mark it with a B or a 4 or whatever to keep track. Now, here's where we add in our biscuits. Our biscuits. Oh, Lord. Our raisins.
What's she doing, Tim?
You don't want these.
No. No. No.
And I know y'all are thinking, oh, she forgot the raisins. No, I didn't. And you see, that dough has come together. So, I'm going to get this patted out. I'm going to rinse my hands. And get some of those dough scraps off of there. If you like, you can add those raisins in before you add the buttermilk. And if I had thought about it properly, I would have done that.
There's something on the lens. I just noticed there's something on the lens.
Is there? Oh. Let me get a biscuit cutter. And remember, straight down. Do not twist. If you twist, your biscuits are going to rise wonky. This is one of the best biscuit cutters I have ever found. It is also a great nut chopper, and it can be used as a pastry blender as well. It's very sharp. I got it from King Arthur Flour. And I think it was about $4. And then you can just... The second cutting is never as pretty as the first cutting, but you know, we're not going to waste it. I won't do that. And just let the warmth of your hand kind of help that dough to spread out. Don't force it too much. I had a lovely viewer asked me last week if there's anything I can't do, and I had commented back, there's plenty I can't do. I can't make a good pie crust to save my life. And then one of my other viewers chimed in and she said, I've noticed that people who make bread and things like that have a tendency to have a problem with the pie crust because people with warm hands don't do well with pastry. And I think, frankly, that is an accurate assessment. Because I can do bread 6 days to Sunday. You know, 6 ways to Sunday. But pastry is not my forte. And if I can eke one more out of here, which I'm pretty sure I can. There's a dozen right there. And then this,
Sammy's.
Cook's Treat.
No. Cheers.
Did Sammy say it was hers?
She's looking. You can hear her name.
Well, we'll just find a spot to stick this.
But you can wait for it to cook. You wait for it to cook.
Okay, so I like my biscuits to be kind of thick, and this is a larger cutter, so you need to remember that if you were making smaller biscuits, you would get more biscuits, but people would eat more, so it really doesn't matter. And one of these and some breakfast meat is going to make a nice breakfast. Okay, I have preheated the oven to 350 degrees. I'm going to put them on the top rack because my oven tends to be a little hot. So, in they go. I'm going to check those in about 15 minutes or when I can start to smell them. So, we'll be back when that happens. Okay, these have been in the oven for 20 minutes. And they smell amazing. They're perfect. There's the bottoms. You see, they're lovely. Okay, and here's Cook's Treat biscuit over here. And I don't know why, but they all got wonky, but oh well, they'll taste delicious. It doesn't matter. Alright, I have to let these cool for about 10 minutes before we put our glaze on them, and we've made our glaze. It's over here on the sideboard. Here it is. I actually did a separate video of how I made the glaze, because for some people, glaze is a mystery, and I wanted to unlock that. So, we're going to let this sit, let the biscuits sit, do a little cleanup. How's it taste?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Okay, we'll be back. Okay. Our biscuits have cooled. We've got our glaze all ready. I have put them on a rack. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the whisk. They don't have to be perfect. They're going to be delicious, though.
So we gotta save some for the kids.
Yeah, probably. And that was like just the perfect amount of glaze. And the biscuits are still ever slightly warm. Ever so slightly warm. So all of the heavy cream that's in there is going to kind of loosen up a little. But for the most part, this fricing. Is it still early or what? Hey, maybe I came up with something new. Fricing. Anyway, there you have it. Let me show you what these look like on the inside. I'm just going to crack one open. You see how pretty they are?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
And why are they so dark?
They're dark because we put cinnamon inside the batter.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
do not be alarmed. Cinnamon Raisin Biscuits with delicious confectioner's icing glaze. I hope you try this and I hope you enjoy it. Until next time, I'll see ya.